Imagine waking up on a shore you don't recognize, salt on your lips and a life that feels like it's been borrowed. Your name is Dom Cobb. The world presses on you like wet clothes. You have the face of a man who's lost everything and learned to steal the one thing that can't be locked away: ideas. This is not a bank heist. It's a heist of the mind. Tonight, we step into that heist. Cobb is an extractor, a thief who slips into other people's dreams, walking corridors of memory to pull out secrets wrapped in sleep. He's precise, patient, and haunted. He carries a totem, a small metal top, an intimate compass that says, "This is mine. This tells me what's real." But there is a scar deeper than any totem can measure. A ghost named Mal. A love that turned into a verdict. A wound that never healed. She is the reason Cobb can't come home. Enter Sato. Powerful, inscrutable. A man who understands the architecture of influence. He doesn't want a secret. He wants a seed. He offers Cobb a proposition so dangerous it rewrites the rules. Don't extract an idea, plant one. Make Robert Fischer, the heir to a vast electronics empire, believe a truth that will drive him to dismantle his father's legacy. In return, Sato will use his reach to wipe Cobb's past clean, to open the gray border back toward his children. Cobb says yes, because what he wants is more than money. It's redemption. And redemption, in this business, requires a team. Ariadne arrives like a spark. Young, brilliant, curious, an architect of dreams. She sketches cities that fold and staircases that betray gravity. Arthur is the planner, meticulous, unflappable, the guy who can thread contingency into the silk of a plan. Eames is the card-sharp funny, confident, a man who forges identities as easily as he forges coins. Yusuf is the chemist, quiet, intense, the one who mixes sedatives that sink men deeper than they thought they could go. Together they assemble a machine, shared dreaming, synchronized through a chemical bridge. Let's talk rules, because rules are all a dream team has between them and oblivion. Shared dreaming requires a link. Everyone sleeps under the same sedative, their subconsciouses connected by a machine and a bedside lullaby. Time is rubber here, it stretches. A breath in the airplane can stretch into hours in a city, days in a hotel, even decades in the bottomless black called limbo. The deeper you go, the slower time moves. The further you sink, the more real the dream feels. A kick of violent propulsion that jolts a sleeper awake must be synchronized across layers to pull them back up. And limbo? Limbo is the raw, lawless subconscious, an infinite place where broken memories fester into architecture. Stay too long, and you can lose yourself entirely. Inception, then, is not extraction. It's architecture, manipulation, and faith. Planting an idea is like growing a tree. You must bury the seed beneath feelings, memories, and an identity fragile enough to accept it as its own. To make Robert Fischer choose to end his father's empire, the teen needs to get behind his defenses, his grief, his guilt, his need to be his own man. They board a plane. Fischer, unwitting, is their mark. They shrink into sleep because the heist must happen, while an airplane hums over an ocean, because there's a safety in altitude and anonymity. Yusuf's sedatives pull them past the thin membrane of waking life and into a rain slick city where angles bleed into reflections, and everything smells like ozone. This is level 1, the soaked streets. Here, time flows more freely. Here they kidnap Fischer and begin to break him. But the real art is in the layers. Level 2 is an elegant hotel, designed by Ariadne, corridors that loop and gravity that forgets the rules. Arthur choreographs its defenses. His calm logic becomes weaponized inside the dream's geometry. We slow the narration here. Hear the quiet hum of a spinning fan, the tick of a clock, the soft squeak of polished shoes on marble. The tension builds like pressure before a storm. Eames slips into faces and roles, feeding Fischer half-truths disguised as accidents. Doubt is a virus they inoculate into the man. Drop one layer deeper, and we find level 3, a white, snow-stiff fortress, a rigid, crystalline world protected by armored men and heavy machinery. Here the stakes feel physical. The sensory palette switches. The wind stings. Breath mists in the air. Boots crunch on frozen ground. The time dilation warps further. Minutes up top expand into hours here. And the team has to orchestrate synchronized kicks, explosions, falls, drops that ricochet up through the layers like a controlled avalanche, each one timed to yank them back toward the surface. All of this is made more fragile by the one thing Cobb cannot control. Mal. She is not a projection that follows rules. She is memory given teeth. Once, Cobb and Mal shared limbo for decades, a construct Cobb architected as a refuge. 50 years of dream life, whole domestic histories fabricated and loved as true. Cobb planted the idea that their dream world was false to wake them both. Mal awoke with that seed still planted in her, convincing herself that their real world was another layer to escape from. She jumped. She died. The memory of it is a jagged, incandescent shard that catches on every mission. Mal appears in the dreams as accusation. Sharp, knowing, relentless. She undermines the plan, seduces Fischer's doubts, and drags Cobb toward collapse. Now imagine the pressure inside the team. Every hallway could fold into memory. Every gunshot could send them plummeting into a place where time is a punishment. Ariadne, who began as a curious student, becomes Cobb's conscience. She watches and sketches, and when she sees Mal's pattern, she understands the architecture of grief. She won't let Cobb build a prison by accident. Arthur keeps the timers ticking. Yusuf wrestles with dosages that will allow depth without losing wakefulness. Eames plays at identities until he finds the right one to slip the idea into Fischer's chest. Fischer himself is elevated beyond villain or victim. He is a man who has been raised within a fabric of paternal expectation, so binding that the notion of freedom is almost foreign. In the deepest descent the team ever makes, they fall into limbo, a derelict cityscape that yawns into forever. It is here, in this place of raw memory, that Cobb meets the woman who never stopped haunting him. Mal stands on a rooftop of ruin, asking the question that has been his prison. Did you ever love me? Or did you love the dream you made for me? The exchange is slow. Let this moment unspool. Cobb's voice is smaller here, frayed around the edges. He confesses the cruel act, planting the idea that they were not real, so Mal would wake. He tells her that he thought waking would save her. Instead, it cost her life. The scene ripples with regret, the kind that cannot be negotiated away with a totem. Ariadne watches from the fringes, learning, furious at the theft of a life, and yet understanding that Cobb's guilt is the key to his vulnerability. For Inception to succeed, Cobb must let go of this ghost. He must choose reality over the convenient, comforting architecture he built for himself. In Limbo, Cobb's choice becomes the mission's hinge. And then the climax, Fischer's final confrontation with his father, staged, raw, touching. In a hospital room that smells of antiseptic and regret, Fischer cues his own autonomy. The planted idea has taken root disguised as his own revelation. I will not be my father. The father's murmured lines carefully chosen, honest enough to sting open the place inside, Fischer that had been sealed by inheritance. This is not manipulation for manipulation's sake. It's surgical planting of hope that frees rather than destroys. Fischer's release is also Cobb's catharsis. In that hospital light, both men step into choices their real lives will either honor or ignore. The return is a cascade of wakes, explosions, synchronized jolts, a careful choreography of a van tumbling into a river as bullets tear the first level apart. Then Arthur fighting gravity in the hotel, while Eames fends off falling identities. Yusuf desperately driving through rain for a kick, and Cobb, always Cobb, chasing his shadow into the bottomless cold, racing to face Mal one last time. Back on the airplane, breaths come more real. Fischer blinks, polite, embarrassed about an imagined snore, unaware a whole conspiracy of grief and genius just shifted the axis of his life. Sato honors his promise. Legal barriers fall away, doors to a country and to children swing open. Cobb returns home in a scene that could be a lullaby. A porch light, small feet, children he has not known for years. He laughs, he cries. Something like peace tries to settle into his face. Yet the film and this story will not allow an easy bow. The totem sits on a table, spinning. It rotates with hypnotic calm, a whir that sounds like the remembering of everything Cobb has lost and everything he has risked to gain. We slow the narration again. The spin becomes a drumbeat, a metronome of uncertainty. It keeps turning, and before it falls, the frame cuts black. The last thing we feel, as the music fades, is the question. The same question Nolan left us with, and the same that lingers when we close our eyes after the credits. Did Cobb come home for real, or is he still falling through? A dream he crafted so cleverly he can't tell it apart from life. If you listened closely, you watched a man try to steal his way back into love, and learned that sometimes the hardest things to plant are not ideas in other people's minds, but truths inside our own.